All right, good morning, everybody, and welcome to a brand new week ahead. Now, I hope everybody had a great weekend and you're ready to get stuck into it. Before we kick off with the week ahead, though, it's probably just quickly worth mentioning the geopolitical side of things. Over the weekend, we have had some tensions, escalation again between the US and Iran, with the two exchanging strikes. But if you just take a look at the price action, across those key markets like the dollar, like oil, like gold, like equities, the markets are, in my opinion, rightly not really reacting in any meaningful way to this at the open. I think right now markets are comfortable with the idea that a complete failure of the ceasefire and a return to full on conflict, it's just not in the best interest of anybody. It's not in the best interest of these two parties. And even though we might get these occasional love taps between them, we hopefully don't see a return of the worst case scenario. So try your best not to get swooped up by the doomsday people out there. The price action will tell you whether the markets think things are getting worse or staying stable. And for now, the price action is speaking volumes about that at the open. So just always keep that in the back of your mind. There's some people who just they like to see and want to see the world burn. At least for now, that is not happening. The markets are comfortable with the idea that the worst case scenario can still be or is still being avoided. So just keep that in the back of your mind. Now, in terms of the week ahead, the major macro event for the week is definitely the US NFP jobs report. Now, this one will land on Thursday this week instead of the usual Friday because we have US Independence Day, the holiday coming up over the weekend. Now, before we get to NFP, we also need to deal with month-end, quarter-end, and half-year-end rebalancing on Tuesday. We have Eurozone inflation risks throughout the week with national CPI prints and obviously the Eurozone flash estimate coming up. We also have the ECB Sintra Forum, which in my opinion will be a waste of time, but something to watch. We also have some Swiss inflation data, UK GDP data, but we'll touch on all of that a little bit later. For the US dollar, I think the bar is pretty straightforward. The dollar has had just such an exceptional run over the course of the last few weeks now. And a lot of people has pointed to, the geopolitical situation and all of that. But even despite oil coming down, despite geopolitical premiums fading, the dollar has not given up any ground. And even though markets was a little bit reluctant on pricing upside. Remember that you heard it here first, right? In our videos where we mentioned for the couple of weeks now that the markets will very quickly return their gaze to what really matters, and that is the economic data, right? Where the US looks far better compared to any of its peers out there. So that's just something worth always keeping in your mind, right? When the noise fades, when the dust settles, the markets return to what matters, and that is the data. And the data has been really good for the US compared to its peers. Now, before we even get to any of the economic data for the week, we do need to treat Tuesday with a little bit of care. June 30th on Tuesday is not just month end, it's also quarter end and it's half year end as well. And that matters, guys, because portfolio rebalancing flows can create price action that has very little to do with the macro data in front of us, right? The basic issue is that US assets, if you take a look at things like US equities, that's the quarterly run. That is April to the end of June. That has been an exceptional move to the upside. Let's just measure that, right? If you take a look at where we ended, or where we potentially will end, with 17% up on the quarter for the S&P alone. These types of things matters because the basic issue is that US assets have outperformed this quarter, especially equities. And when US equities outperform, global real money portfolios can become overweight on their US assets, right? And to rebalance back towards their target allocations, those investors might need to either sell US assets, right? Take some profit off the table, or they have to hedge their dollar exposures going into month or rebalance their dollar exposures going into month end, into that fix. Now, that doesn't always mean the dollar has to sell off because normally what you would expect on massive US equity outperformance is you would expect to see dollar selling. If equities was underperforming, you would expect dollar buying. So in this particular environment, there could be some downside risk for the dollar. But it doesn't always have to be the market selling US dollars. It could simply be profit taking on some of those US assets that has done exceptionally well. And I think people underestimate the pressure that there is to bank some gains when things that you have been trading has gone up 100%, right? If you're sitting on a desk and you're sitting on some of these names that has gone 100, 200, 300% in the quarter, there's some real pressure for you to just bank some of those gains. That's why, I would really caution on anybody taking any of the bearish price action that we've seen in equities. Don't take it too seriously. That started last week and going into Tuesday. If after Tuesday things gets a little bit more sour, then okay, we can dismiss month end and quarter end and half year and rebalancing. But while the rebalancing window is open, you really need to be careful with what you are, with what you're taking away from equity price action, because it might have nothing to do with what's going on with the macro. It might just simply be flow related stuff, and you really need to keep that in mind. So the first task of the week would be to basically separate flows from fundamentals. So just keep that in the back of your mind. So let's then quickly go to the week ahead. Let's start with the main events, which will, of course, be US data. Now, we've got a couple of data points coming up this week. We've got the JOLTS, we've got ADP, we've got ISM, but let's not kid ourselves. It's very difficult to argue that any of these will matter more than payrolls. Payrolls will be the star event for the week. We do have ISM manufacturing PMI coming up. That is probably the only release that deserves standalone attention, mainly because of the prices paid and the employment subcomponents that we get for these. The headline will matter, but the comparison matters far more, right? If we have a firm ISM prices print, for example, but downside in the headline and employment, that'll be a little bit tricky for the markets to handle, right? The best case scenario for dollar upside or dollar downside would be on an upside scenario, you're looking for prices up, employment up, growth up. You're looking for everything up or everything down for some downside momentum. Um, Again, with NFP in the mix and with it being a shortened, a holiday shortened week, I just don't know whether ISM will pack the same punch that we normally would expect. I think payrolls will definitely be the main performer. We will obviously be looking at ISM, but I think, personally, I might just be keeping my powder dry until we get that NFP print on Thursday. Now, looking towards NFP consensus across the board is looking for something close to around 100, 110. Unemployment is expected to stay flat, and earnings is expected to stay very close to prior numbers as well. Now, the challenge is that the markets are not really approaching this report from a neutral position this week. I mean, if we consider just the price action that we just looked at, the dollar has been running on an absolute rampage recently. Lots of upside there. Fed pricing has turned more hawkish with the markets now not really, aggressively pricing in hikes for the FMC yet, but definitely getting more comfortable with the idea that rates might need to be moved higher in the course of the next few months. And the markets have become more focused on the idea that the US economy can continue to outperform that exceptionalism trade. Now, that does create a little bit of asymmetry going into NFP, right? Because if you look at things like positioning on the dollar specifically, geez, speculators have gone a little bit bonkers when it comes to dollar positioning, to be honest. They've gone a little bit crazy. I mean, if you take a look at net positioning alone, we are getting very close to previous areas where we were getting close to the dollar rolling over. And you can see all of that is just long positions being added by a massive bulk. So the markets have gotten very, very long the US dollar. And that is bullish from a signaling point of view, but it is slightly cautionary or risky for the dollar from a crowding point of view, right? So positioning is now getting to levels where previously we saw the dollar upside fizzle out a little bit. So there is some squeeze risk that we do need to keep in mind for those longs. So yes, when it comes to US exceptionalism, right, the data in the US have been exceptionally good compared to its peers. So that means that if we were to get a strong payrolls number this week, it would likely just validate the current dollar trend that we've had. It would keep the exceptionalism story alive, and it should support things like front end yields, leave the markets comfortable basically with the idea that rates are probably going to start moving higher and not lower in the future. And all else equal, that should still be positive for the US dollar. And even though the markets are getting a little bit crowded here, I would say, we are reaching some very key levels of resistance around the 101.80 or 101.90. Let's just call it the 102 on the dollar index. And all of this is happening at a time where if you take a look at retail positioning, They are exceptionally short on the US dollar right now. Now, if we just let me just quickly show you guys what we're talking about. So this is the dollar aggregate, which basically just compiles all of the dollar positioning together on the retail side. And you can see that they are still very, very short the US dollar at these levels. Now, I'll give you one guess where you think a ton of stops for all of these dollar shorts will be sitting. It's probably just above that 102 level, right? Above that May 2025 swing high. So if we were to get a strong number and we pierce back above that area, it could give the markets another run to the upside from a pure liquidity point of view. So you do need to keep that in mind. So a strong NFP could be enough to see us breach that level, trigger some stops along the way. But at the same time, what if the report comes in really soft? Now, that is where things from a short term tradability point of view does get more interesting because if we get a weaker headline, a higher unemployment rate, like if it's an ugly print, right? If we get a real ugly NFP, and remember, we know don't ever just trade NFP just on the headline number. We look at NFP, unemployment, and earnings. If all four of these come in much worse than expected going into the new week, then from a pure squeeze risk, there could be some downside opportunities for the US dollar. It's probably not something that I would want to trade in the medium term, but as a short term trade out of Thursday, that could be really attractive for us, either up or down. And remember, um, the recent communication shift from the FOMC and the lack of forward guidance that they will now give us means that we are hoping to see some, increased fireworks, some increased volatility if we get a decent surprise this week. So definitely worth keeping on the radar. It will be the main event for this week. Now, apart from that, look, we also have some Eurozone data coming up this week. We've got let me just show you guys. We've got the French, we've got the German, and obviously the Eurozone HICP data coming up, the flash HICP data coming up. Now, the setup is important because markets are still pricing in a meaningful chance. Let me just show you guys here. Are still pricing in a meaningful chance of an ECB hike by the end of the year. And all of that is happening at a time when the main reason why they have been hiking or expected to continue hiking in the first place was oil prices. And look at what oil prices have done, right? Oil prices are not a concern for this bank anymore. I think they hiked somewhere over here, literally just when oil prices started to push lower. So the risk for the euro here going into this week, I think, is pretty simple. The markets are pricing in a hike. And the only reason why they are pricing in a hike is because the bank was getting very scared of oil prices. Oil prices have now peaked. They've pushed lower. We're below the 200-day moving average, which means that is no longer an issue for the ECB or shouldn't be an issue. So that matters because if the only reason why they were expected to hike rates and why they did hike rates was oil prices, then there's now no more reason for them to be scared, no reason for them to be pricing in a hike anymore or expecting a hike anymore. So what does that translate to for this week? It means that if CPI data surprises to the downside, that is by far the more attractive opportunity, and that leaves the euro vulnerable this week, especially if the US data remains resilient. That could potentially see some nice plays to the downside, continuation plays to the downside in the euro versus the US dollar. We're currently trading at the lowest levels going back to June last year already. Technically speaking, we've broken below this stiff level of support, which is the prior fix, I believe, going back to July of last year. We've traded below that 114 level. We're now trying to make our way back up. So this looks like a possible breakout retest continuation opportunity if the data comes in weak. Now, remember, the markets won't wait for the Eurozone HICP data to trade something like this. Let me just quickly show you guys. We've got the Eurozone data coming up a little bit later in the week. That is coming up on Wednesday. But in the run up to that, we have the Spanish data, the French data, and the German data. Those three measures makes up the bulk of the Eurozone data. So the markets won't wait for Eurozone data to land on Wednesday. They'll already start positioning with the Spanish, the French, the German data. So those ones will be important for us to watch. If there's big downside surprises in those regional prints, that could provide some opportunities for the euro to the downside. If it's stronger data, if it surprises higher, it basically just gives the ECB the cover to continue on the hiking path, but that is already priced in and probably doesn't give us much of an opportunity anyway. So that's just something worth keeping on the radar. I'm not holding my breath for big moves there, but that could be interesting. We also have Swiss inflation on the calendar, but yeah, look, this should not be a big driver at all. The market is looking for some pretty benign inflation numbers here for the Swiss economy. The S&B remains completely blind to any surprises in inflation, whether up or down. They always just discount it, saying, "Oh, but my medium-term forecast is still showing this." They are just not focused on inflation, and as long as they remain blind to any type of inflation surprise, Swiss CPI is probably a nothing burger. The other thing we have on the radar, again, probably not mattering too much, is final Q1 GDP data for the UK. Normally, we don't get a big reaction out of final GDP data anyway, but the bigger issue right now for the UK is politics, right? It's fiscal policy. The markets are trying to work out what is the incoming Burnham government going to look like? Who does he choose as his chancellor? What will the fiscal stance be? That matters for the pound a lot more than any type of backward looking GDP revised data. So the final GDP data probably not something that's worth the squeeze this week. It could be interesting. I mean, obviously we'll keep it on the radar, but I think politics will be the main driver for the pound. If we get news that Burnham will be picking somebody that is a concern on the fiscal side, we would expect more downside for the pound. If he chooses somebody that is seen as a little bit more fiscally responsible, that could see some upside in the pound. So very simple. We'll need to wait for any type of political clarity until that gets interesting. So we can break our week into three phases then this week. Firstly, watch out for the month end quarter end rebalancing flows on Tuesday. If the dollar softens into the fix or equities, don't automatically treat it as a macro reason. It's probably just some rebalancing. If the dollar does stay bid, though, despite the potential rebalancing pressure, that could be a pretty strong signal, bid signal for the dollar going into NFP. Secondly, watch out for those Eurozone inflation data points and the Sintra Forum. The Euro needs CPI to come in higher to defend the ECB hike pricing. If we get a big downside miss, especially with oil falling, it would make it very hard for markets to justify holding on to those ECB hike expectations, and that could create some downside moves for the euro. Thirdly, NFP, that's going to be the main event. That is the key test for this recent US exceptionalism run that we've had in the US dollar. If we get a stronger print, it probably sees the dollar rally stay intact. If we do, though, get a very clean downside miss with weaker wages, with higher unemployment, that's probably the best chance for a proper short-term dollar pullback, given how stretched positioning has been on the CFTC side. The bottom line, good luck out there this week. Remember that it's a holiday shortened week. We get NFP on Thursday, not Friday. Keep that in mind. Also, for those of you who are not yet following the Fusion Twitter profile, make sure to jump on there, give it a follow. I had a great chat with the awesome Ryan Paisley from PIQ last week. So check out the recording that we made for that. And be sure to follow the YouTube and the Twitter channels for updates and insights as well. I regularly share comments with the Fusion team and they post those on the social channels. So do make sure to get on those and get that data and insights early on. So with that said, hope everybody will have a great week ahead. And as always, if you have any questions for me that you want me to answer, please reach out and let me know. Happy hunting.